Roxo Media House.
Welcome back to Fortitude, everybody. Brenton Payne, J.W. Wilson, welcome to the CapTech studio. We are Fortitude, FORTitudeFW.com. Check us out. We got a cool guy in the house today, Brenton.
Yeah.
Ramon Romero.
He said Romero. He called him Ramirez a few minutes ago.
That is not cool what you just did, you big jerk.
He rolled his
Ramon
R.
Romero.
That's pretty good.
So that's how he treats me.
JW, that's way better than most.
Ramon, thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you for being here.
We've known about you for a while. Brenton knows you more than me, but you have a cool life, a cool story. We'd like to talk about it for a little bit.
Yes.
First, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you here.
I am even more glad.
Our friends at CapTech Bank, good people, good bankers, they welcome you as well. They're the reason for us being here.
You know Mike Thomas?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
that's CapTech's.
We might need to do some business.
I think you might. He's worth your time.
He might be getting into the rock and stone and all that business.
Hey, we can definitely make him happy there.
Oh, yeah.
Good. Well,
Yeah.
Ramon, excuse me. I like the rolling of the R's.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
do.
You're the sixth of 8 children. We know this.
Mm-hmm.
You come from a long lineage of Fort Worthians.
That's right.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
but originally you're from the Zacatecas state in Mexico.
That's right.
Yes.
Central Mexico.
Can we start there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's Zacatecas. Dad was, like grandpa, farmers. Beautiful piece of property that I was fortunate enough to go to. The last recollection, I think I was somewhere 5 or 6 years old. But Dad participated in the Bracero program. So he went to California in 1961. 7 years in the Bracero program.
What's that? What's the Bracero program?
Bracero program was the former wetback program because that's what it was actually called, the wetback program. You did get a wetback card. He still has it. 61 to 68. And then he finally settled in Chicago. And then one of our family members moved here to Fort Worth. And we've been here since 1969.
What brought him to California? What industry?
Farming. Yeah, so he picked everything. So all the way, he was, people talk about Cesar Chavez and, everything that he meant for the farm workers movement. My dad was one of those folks that came across as immigrant labor because there wasn't enough workers at the time because we just were a part of the Korean War and so on. So, yeah, he was one of the volunteers that came to pick lots of grapes and lettuce. Yeah, 45 days at a time he moved around. So 45 days, and if your employer said you were a good employer, then you got to move to a different place. So he moved from California, Minnesota, Louisiana, Texas. He was all over the country.
All for farming?
All for farming.
And then eventually ended up in Fort Worth, Texas.
That's right.
Okay, but I got to ask a question, like technical, on the wetback deal.
Yeah.
I thought that was, the slang for like the back wet from crossing the river. Is that what the meaning is, or is there something else from like the migrant farming deal?
Yeah, the feds called it the wetback program. So a lot of folks don't know that. So if you look up the Bracero program, you look up, kind of what those folks went through from coming across this, getting sprayed down with DDT to make sure there wasn't any germs on them, to being put in camps, and then they worked.
So it had nothing to do with like swimming across the river kind of thing.
No. I mean, that's just slang and folks that don't know. Yeah,
okay.
Google it.
Well, there we go.
If
I don't need to. I got the real deal.
If you're Latino, you'd say Googlealo.
Yeah.
Nice. So you're a north side resident. You were at that time. That's where the family.
Well, believe it or not, we're from Poly. We all moved into Poly. All of us, the vast majority of my brothers and sisters, either the magnet program moved around a little bit. I moved around to north side through the magnet program. I thought I wanted to be a doctor for a short period of time. But we're from Poly, Southeast Fort Worth. Been there our whole lives. My mom still lives same place over on Avenue D. I still live over in Poly. So yeah, it's kind of hard for us to move out of the hood, especially when mom's cooking is so good.
Yeah.
You close with your siblings?
I am. I'm fairly close. Some of us are not as close as I'd like for us to be, but the vast majority of us, my older sister, a lot of folks know her, Alicia Duran. She was at the Lena Pope home for a long time. Now she's doing some freelance work. Sister's a nurse.
Please name them for us.
Okay. Alejandra, Juan, Raúl, Alicia, Rosa, Ernesto, Ramon, Alfredo, Jose Alfredo, and Catalina.
My sources say that it was correct. I'm going to go ahead and agree with you.
And my dad is Ramon. I'm junior, and my mom is Maria del Refugio Villavicencio.
Lovely. Isn't it?
Wait.
The way he speaks, it just makes it sound more beautiful.
I know.
We butcher everything.
He doesn't look like a state rep, does he?
I know.
I mean, it's a beautiful thing. How come you got the junior, though? I mean, you're like 6 down the list. I thought that was for the firstborn.
I was supposed to be the last child, and then my dad says 8 years later, here comes Jose Alfredo and Kathy,
no.
and
Okay.
they won't be mad at me for saying that.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Your
good.
first job was at an ice cream parlor, Ashburn's Ice Cream Parlor,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. My first real job. My first job was selling golf balls at Sycamore Creek Golf Course.
Okay.
All I wanted to do was get enough to buy a Coke and a Nutty Bar.
You go and find them in the lake and in the woods and stuff.
There was some bamboos that grew up behind our house. So we would take a box spring and pull one of the springs out, tie it with a wire to the bamboo, and we'd hang over the creek and pull them out of the creek. And
Oh, no kidding.
75 cents. I always got my Coke and my Nutty Bar.
I mean, for a free utility, like no cost, right, to you, the utensil, the utility of it?
Yeah, it was cool.
That's super cool.
They call them those ball grabbers like today.
Yeah.
We didn't have any of those.
You should have
We
patented
made our
that.
own.
You should have patented that.
I actually
piece of
did.
bamboo.
I went and testified before, or was a speaker at city council, and I actually took one of those old school ones to tell the story
about
that
where
I'd
you
been
came
around
from.
golf forever. But you know, I'm very passionate about golf.
No, you're a good golfer.
I'm a scratch golfer. Been a scratch golfer for a long time, but it's because of what it did for me in business. I wouldn't have grown my pool business had it not been for my skills on the golf course, and some of the relationships I made through golf are the relationships that I maintained that way. So
You Rockwood Friday mornings, like that, the home track?
Saturday mornings, every 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock every Saturday. Come find me. Bring your $1 or two.
Tarrant County College graduate. Yes.
I did not graduate. I dropped out of college in my first year.
It's worked out though, so there's a lesson there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I had mouths to feed. I had kids in high school, so I had a child support payment, and I had a wife and kids at home. And TCC was a little slow for me. Got my irrigation license doing sprinkler systems, and then that evolved into a pool subcontracting business, which I still maintain today.
A-Fast Tile and Coping.
That's
yes?
correct. Yeah.
How many years old?
We started in 1994, so
Wow,
28 years now, and I hope a lot of your viewers recognize me because I've renovated lots of pools and worked on a lot of really cool projects. In Fort Worth.
How involved were you with the pool and the coping business with the state rep job?
Every day.
Every minute and every day.
Yeah, every day.
Yeah.
I just left a couple of jobs now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. West Fort Worth is a great place to build pools.
Says you have over 60 employees, many of them local as well, or most of them local. That's incredible.
We're down to about 40 right now, but we don't need 60. I was over 100 at one time.
Holy cow.
And I said I won't do that again. I was putting about 40 to 50,000 miles a year on my car, and that's too much time to spend behind a wheel.
Going all over the Metroplex. You're doing it kind of everywhere, not just focused on Fort Worth.
From Stephenville to North Dallas, from Denton to Hillsboro. That's just too much time behind a wheel.
Yeah.
Successful businessman, local guy who obviously knows a lot of folks. When did you decide in your mind that you're going to start serving and giving back to the community?
My mom, she made me an altar boy. When I was a kid, if Father Hoover back in the day didn't have somebody serving, she'd pinch my ear and say, go help. So I'd do that. And she invited me, after I moved out of our house, she invited me to a meeting. City of Fort Worth had a model block program going on, $5 million they were going to spend in our community. And I took interest. She said, come translate the meeting. I walked out the neighborhood president. And
Excellent.
That's how it happened. I never looked back. I really enjoyed the fact that I could pick up the phone and tell people where to spend money. And it's kind of been a passion of mine ever since. And Ralph McLeod and Mayor Mike Moncrief took a liking to me, and they both made sure that I was appointed to the key boards and commissions. I served for 12 years on zoning and planning, chaired the planning commission, wanted to run for city council, lost by 78 votes to Kelly Allen Gray, and then beat Lon Burnham by 111. So I like close races too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
And you were, that the race against Lon Burnham was kind of a pivotal one. You had a lot of support from not just your area and neck of the woods, but from the community wide. I remember seeing some pretty big faces at your fundraiser downtown the first time we met when you were running for state rep. Did those guys ask you and you were like, yeah, I think this is the logical next step? Or was there a passion of yours that you thought, oh, man, I want to be that Austin guy too? Or
I absolutely did not want any part of it. If you'd asked me that today, would I do it over again? I probably would not do it over again. It's cost my business a tremendous amount. But look, someone has to step up. If I'm of the belief that if the work isn't being done as well as it can be done, then somebody else needs to do the job. And that's the way I felt about Lon Burnham. So I did it not because I wanted to be a politician, not because I wanted to write legislation. but I didn't think he was representing District 90 well. It's a Latino opportunity seat. It always was supposed to be a Latino opportunity. Latino community never won. So a lot of the folks in the Latino community are the ones that came to me and said, you have to do it. It's not a matter if you want to. We need you to. I did it. Half the people that voted for me in my city council race had never even voted before. So I felt like if I had an impact on that one person's life and maybe I made them a lifetime voter, why not do a little bit more of it? So that's why I did it.
That's great.
I'm still there. I like it. I've got people on both sides of the aisle. Lyle Larson is my best friend, Republican, who just retired. He and I are going to be friends for life. We're going to travel together. We do travel together. We play golf together. And I'm one of those folks that it doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. We're going to go down there and do the dang work.
Yeah.
And we need more people that want to go do the work. And I try to lead by example. And that's I'm a hard worker. When I get down there, I put my head down. I go get it done. And there's some folks down there that are trying to make a name for themselves, and it's my job to expose them.
That's good stuff. So will you tell us about some of your successes as state rep, and then possibly finish that up with a couple of things that maybe didn't go so successful for you?
Well, so my wife is a mental health professional, Dr. Ramon Romero. She's an amazing. Hope you'll see this show sometime, baby. She's actually on her way to Cancun right now.
Did you have to say that because she's a marital doctor?
Well, that's one of the things I work on really a lot. Yeah, she is a marital doctor. Yeah, she works really hard at she has to put things back together in our marriage. No, look, I mean, we work on a lot of mental health access, kind of cutting some of the barriers for other mental health professionals that are coming into the state, making sure that they can immediately set up shop. We need help. We need more therapists and counselors in our schools. So we're working on some of that. I'm very passionate about the immigrant population. One of the first bills I ever passed was a bill on ficheras, which are like these Mexican bars where girls are hostesses and they're paid based upon how much they can drink, not how hard they work.
Oh, wow.
So these girls drink, this is water, everyone, but they drink, beer after beer after beer after beer. And it was really a terrible situation.
Yes.
Worked really hard with TABC, great advocates. They've worked really hard for us, need more funding.
All over the state or more down
all
towards
over the state,
everywhere?
All over the state. There's thousands of these bars that pay these ladies based upon what they basically they charge you $25 for their beer and they get $10 of it. So why not drink 50 or 75 beers? How do you do that? You go and you induce vomiting. And when I found out about it, it's like we're gonna put a stop to that. And we filed legislation, passed it in my first year. We were able to get that through. But my number one issue, and I said that I will quit whenever we are ever able to allow the undocumented community to access a driver's permit again. So it's my number one bill. It's my desire. I don't think that'll ever happen in my career because of the way we're going. But look, as a business owner, the worst thing you ever want to do is get a letter from the IRS that says this person isn't who they say they are, and you've already invested into gear, equipment, a truck, and now they can't drive anymore. There's businesses all over that are struggling right now to keep people. And look, some of our best employees just happen to have not ever had a driver's license or not ever happen to have identification opportunities. It's been about 10 years now. I think we should go back. Businesses need it. And look,
how big a problem is it?
It's huge. I mean, can you imagine if your dad went to go renew his driver's license and they cut it right in front of you, and now your sister has to go drive him to work because he's one of the most important people? That's actually going on in our community. A lot of these things are going on. But look, I mean, we're scapegoats right now. And I say that because, my mom, when she came across, unlike my dad who came across legally, my mom came across the border with 2 babies in hand. And she crossed that river. You didn't need to call her wetback. You can call her whatever she wants. She's just cuca to me. But look, I mean, I think we've been scapegoats for a long time. I'm there to make life hell on those people that want to, make life hell on those people. So look, we have a lot of work to do on the immigrant community. I think that Texas has always been one where we embraced being Mexico's neighbor. George W. Bush, who's somebody I actually voted for, believed that. He wanted comprehensive immigration reform. We are far from that time. If it wouldn't have been for 9/11, I think we would have already gotten there. And we can't move the needle. And it's been over 20 years. We need to make it happen.
Well, and it seems, too, that there's this entire subculture that exists. Like you talked to me a little bit about those undocumented numbers. And it's like, it's a complete sub-city or a sub-county. I mean, maybe say, if you can spout off some of the kind of stats that you did about just how much of a population we have here and how much is undocumented that's just moving and grooving throughout Tarrant County.
Yeah. So real quickly, we just went through redistricting, and everyone knows that, there was an issue between citizen voting age population and actual voting age population. If you look at the raw numbers of voting age population, those percentages for this district would be like, oh my God, it's a 60% district. The problem is in areas like where I live, you might have 20 to 30% undocumented and or legal permanent residents, which means non-citizen, non-voting folks. That's why a lot of cities that have large immigrant populations actually allow folks, regardless of their status, to vote. But you just can't vote in federal elections. Now, that would be a dream if we could do that, because why wouldn't someone who has a child at Fort Worth ISD not be able to vote for who their official is or trustee is? They deserve that right. But, I mean, you're talking about an area of Dallas-Fort Worth that probably has close to 8 million people, and there are estimates that of those 8 million people, almost 2 million are either legal permanent residents or undocumented. That means that you have a large population with a huge economy behind them. They're paying taxes, they live in homes, they're building this economy. They're a big part of it. We're all a family, but they're just not really represented well. But hey, you can get me on immigrant issues all day long. I'm not sure that's what you want to do.
No, it is. But if I could ask a kind of an off question that you made me think of, but is there a general way that the immigrants are making the way to Fort Worth? Is there a pipeline that leads them here, or is it just them finding the best available opportunities?
I think everybody in the country wants to be in Dallas-Fort Worth right now. I mean, you can tell by our roads. Dallas-Fort Worth is the best place on earth potentially, just because of location. We all know you can get anywhere in the country 3 hours from right here, and there's so many jobs coming here. Housing was somewhat affordable, so I think that it's always been a place, especially for Zacatecanos. You know, Zacatecanos live in Chicago, Fort Worth, and LA.
Why?
And because once your family started coming here and they say, hey, I'm in the construction industry, I'm in the pool industry, I'm in the meat processing industry, and they're hiring, then others came.
Yeah.
You know, and they came there because they had security, they had safety. And on weekends, we all kind of shared, you know, like my dad, he's a butcher, right? So every weekend in our community, you know, it was a hog, it was a goat, it was something, and we split it up.
Why is the meat better at like a butcher shop like that? Because I've heard this guy tells me, like the Mexican, it's the premier. Like, I don't know. Why is that?
It's pre-seasoned. I mean, it's always marinada, you know, so it's marinada, and hopefully the person, you know, loves the animal a little bit. You know, we always raised a hog.
Yeah.
You know, we raised goats in our backyard, you know, so just the fact that you know how you fed them. And, you know, maybe it feels.
Did you hear that, vegan?
I heard you.
Okay.
It went over my head.
Yeah.
I'm lost.
we just talked about it. I'm kind of going that way myself.
I know.
I'm not quite pescatarian.
It's not bad. Like, because maybe that's why, because you can kind of see from kind of farm to table. There's a lot that makes sense about that, you know, without all the stuff going in processing.
We need more local farms in DFW. We need to get back to where we're growing our own fruits. We should have so many farmers markets in this town. I mean, there's no reason that we shouldn't do more of it. When I go to Austin and I'm around that town, because it's just, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's all the folks from California moving down there, but whatever. The food is just, it tastes a little bit better. The tomatoes are a little more juicy. You know, the vegetables are a little bit better. I don't know how far our vegetables are coming from. I know there's more and more every day. I'd like to see it close by so that, you know, people learn to do it in their own backyards.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that's something we're doing. Marilu and I actually have a little greenhouse. So, you know, we grow lettuce and we grow kale and
anything else in there we should know about or not know about?
Come and visit.
Okay.
You might enjoy it.
Something in his eye.
It's a tear, man.
Ramon, so you alluded to that the opportunities in Fort Worth for immigrants, legal immigrants, are plentiful. So it's driving a lot of people here. You mentioned the work that you're trying to do to help these people. Are you seeing success? Are you making headway? Is it still a tremendous problem that's getting worse? How do you feel about where we're heading with that issue?
Yeah. Well, look, I will tell you this. I think that the Latino community in Fort Worth is very successful. If you're in the construction business right now, or the service industry right now, the supply business right now, you're doing really, really well.
Yeah.
And in the 30 years that I've been in business here, I've seen folks go from worker to supervisor to part owner to owner. And right now, everyone knows you can charge whatever you want. So the fact that these folks are here and are successful, it doesn't mean they're undocumented, but these are immigrants that are successful. It is a really great place to be. So I think that it's kind of sad that we're not involving them enough. We're not engaging them enough. We're not doing enough things in Spanish. We're not welcoming them to the table, because they have their own table. They have their own economy. You go down East Rosedale, you go down Northside Drive. I mean, there's businesses everywhere, and everyone's kicking butt, you know. So the community is great. I hope that at some point, city of Fort Worth and the surrounding cities, Arlington, Mansfield, you name it, really just do a better job of kind of welcoming the diversity and, you know, just having a lot more fun with the community that we have. I mean, I think that's a great thing that we're almost 35 to 40%, you know, Hispanic, Latino in this city. And I think you saw it. If you went to Arts Goggle this weekend, there was some really cool
I
art.
did.
And it was finally some cool like Latino artists
Yes.
that had a little bit different vibe.
Yeah.
You know, I almost wore the Fort Worth, Texas cap because it was a Latino owner that sold it. You know, it creates a lot of pride. You know, so I think that you're seeing in the Latino community a lot more pride. Folks that want to run for office, you know, they want to start businesses, and that's good for our community.
Yeah.
You know? And as we said before we started the show, maybe the Mexican food will get a little bit better.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you think so? This is kind of two-phase question. You got all this local stuff going on there, but then you go down to Austin and you have to represent a much larger body. So what kind of challenges was that for you? Because, you know, this thing was, is Ramon going to stay kind of the local guy and take care? Is he going to go down and because he's upwardly mobile, going to be this very strong state rep and representing kind of the Hispanic community at a much larger scale? So maybe talk about just what that's like.
Yeah. You know, there's times when I feel like the burden for a Latino like myself, who is, you know, a couple of our members or family members are undocumented. I have to represent that community. I know it's not popular right now, but I have to. I'm getting chills thinking about it. You know, it makes me want to cry sometimes about it, because like farm workers still in this state are still being abused. You know, there's farmers that will invite migrant workers to come and they say we provide housing, but all you see is a shipping container. And they bring their families with them, their kids, their wives, and the shower is a green water hose. It shouldn't be the case in Texas.
Yeah.
You know, we're not expanding Medicaid. You know, we have kids in our schools that people are complaining that the cost to Texas is too great. And I say, invest in them like you invested in me. We're going to pay off. Trust me.
Yeah.
We're going to be fine. My family, you know, my business has probably done $150 million in the 28 years that I've been around.
Mm-hmm.
I think we paid our debt. And I think that that community is welcoming and ready to pay the debt. So, look, there's still so much need. Healthcare is incredible. Education is incredible. There's going to be another push to kill in-state tuition for the children of undocumented. So you talk about the Dreamers. You know, those attacks are all the time. Why? Because it's popular in the Republican primary.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care anymore what's popular, but I always warn people. I said, what's coming? What were they talking about in the Republican primary? It's coming. It's what's going to happen. So, you know, get engaged, you know, hopefully at some point. And I don't even care about Latinos voting Democrat. I want folks voting Republican that are going to shift that narrative of what's important to our entire state. Just get back to business, pay your taxes, believe in personal responsibility.
Vote.
But, you know, just get out there and go make a difference in your community. I tell kids all the time, I don't want to spend 2 hours of my day on things that I don't get paid for. But, you know, I wear out the My Fort Worth app.
Yeah.
You know, I go around town, and if I see, anything from litter to, you know, dogs to, overgrown trees, or sometimes even my neighbor's trash cans outside, I tell my neighbors, don't wonder who called. It was me.
Yeah.
You know, so,
yeah.
You know, just do
well,
it,
and you did that at like a place right by your business. It was a real unsightly park and creek going through there that was filled with trash. And I mean, fortunately for you, you knew the right numbers to call, but I think you've done a pretty nice job of cleaning that up that people are really enjoying. And I would say it didn't take that much. I mean, I'm not trying to take away from it, but it seems that has become a much more beautiful place off 287 as a result.
Well, thank you. It is called Martin Luther King Freeway, and it's kind of sad that you go around the state or the country for that matter, and Martin Luther King Freeway always just seems to be a little bit dirtier. And my district engineer for the first two, I told every one of them what my desires were. The recent one came in, and I said, you're probably going to be just like everyone else, which means you're not going to do anything about what I say. So the bar has been set so low that don't worry, you know, you're just going to be just like everyone else. And I think he took it, his name's Carl Johnson. I have to give him credit. The guy is just bending over backwards now and telling me, like, I did hear you, Ramon, and I am going to clean this place up, because you're right. Even if there are homeless camps, it should be clean in the homeless camp.
Yeah.
And, you know, if I could get Richard Zavala and the Parks Department on board, that'd be great. But, you know, Linda Christie over at TRWD did an incredible job. So we partnered with, the City of Fort Worth Code Enforcement, the Hope Team, TRWD, the Texas Department of Transportation, TxDOT. Everybody kind of got together. We're cleaning up the highway. It looks better. Look, when people come to Fort Worth, there's a lot of beauty in Fort Worth, but it shouldn't be dirty.
Yeah.
Absolutely should not be dirty.
Yeah.
And that's something that, fortunately, Mayor Parker and I, if we've made a commitment that I was going to have an incredible relationship with my mayor, and I wanted her to be I wanted to be her go-to in the state legislature. I know they go to Charlie a lot and they go to Goldman a lot, but for a lot of these issues, I wanted her to come to me, because we need to clean this city up.
For sure.
And we can do it. It's just one step at a time, and the resources are there.
Yeah.
And
check this out. if you don't throw it out the window on the freeway, it doesn't blow down into the river. I mean, I know that's a kind of a crazy concept for you to get over, J-Dub, but the bottom line is,
thank you for helping.
Is that Whataburger trash or whatever? Just leave it in the car till you get to the trash can. I've seen it. I'm like, what year are we in? 1970, throwing the trash out the window? Like, you got to be kidding me with
Why
this.
is he referring to you?
I've seen his back seat. I know it's not me that's the problem.
Because I don't throw the trash out the window.
That's what I'm
I throw
talking
it in the
about.
back seat. And don't try to throw it in the truck bed, because I've tried that. It doesn't work. It flies out.
Well, before we get too far off the topic that I want to ask you about, I would like to ask you about this because I think you can speak to it really well because you mentioned a few things. But what is it like, for those who don't know, what is it like to be an illegal immigrant or undocumented immigrant in Fort Worth? Is it a scary life to lead? Are you always afraid of being arrested, stopped? Could you give us a little insight on what it is to live as an illegal immigrant here?
Have you ever smoked weed?
I might have. Yes.
Okay, let's say, for example, if you just smoked a joint and your car smells like weed and you see the police officer behind you, you probably get pretty nervous.
Paranoia, I think is what they call it.
So now imagine that's your life every time you get behind the wheel.
Ouch.
You know, it's really painful. You know, it's not, no one should live like that. And you know who really shouldn't live that way? That 15 or 16-year-old boy that's just trying to help his family survive by going out and taking a job. Mm-hmm. So now you're this kid that goes to school trying to make sure that he has a future. But at the same time, he has a responsibility of helping mom and dad pay the bills because rent is ridiculous now. So now he's going out after school. He's driving the car. He doesn't have a driver's license. It's probably a carcacha, which means a raggedy car. And that's his reality. Right. You know, that's a pretty sad place. Now you're mom and you go to the hospital, you're sick, and they don't give you, prenatal care, right? What's the deal with that? Yeah. How safe do you feel that you're going to have a good pregnancy? But Tarrant County, we're one of the only places in Texas where an undocumented person just gets stabilized and sent home. So imagine you break your arm, you go out there and they tell you, well, thank God the bone's not sticking out your skin. Here, put this splint on. We'll see you later.
Yeah.
You know, it's just it's a really strange place to live in Tarrant County, where this population is working so hard to build the best economy in the country, but yet they're not being rewarded with tax dollars and so on. And they always, folks are always going to argue that they're more of a burden than an asset. I would argue that we're a much greater asset than a burden. So it's a scary
and there's
place.
this huge dilemma with the data, right? Because you got to almost have the documentation to show that these folks are doing what you're saying and being good contributors to society, but they're undocumented. So it's this like perpetual cycle of we can't document it out of a lot of fear and these things, and then it just keeps going, and it's just kind of grows.
Yeah, I mean it's my dad says, hey, it used to be worse. Y'all need to stop complaining it was worse. There was a time when it didn't matter. If you got pulled over, you knew you were on your way to Mexico, and that changed for a reason. Because they realized that people were not reporting crime. I tell folks, before SB4, people would report crimes all the time. Now in my neighborhood, you hear gunshots all the time. No one complains. There's no one complaining. No one calls in and says that's going on. So someone gets broken into, they don't call the police. So now you have crime that's not being reported. Mm-hmm. You don't want that in Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah, it just spoils the data further, right?
Like, it really does. Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate. But, I think that this is why America is the best country on earth to live, where we can change it in one election cycle. If you really care about it. They always say it only takes one generation to change a nation. I tell young people that all the time. It can be your generation. Is it or won't it?
You think we're getting closer to that with this generation, or you think that we got a whole lot of talking about it on social media and stuff, and then Tuesday comes around in November and, it's kind of rainy. I've been cozying up to Netflix. I can't make it to the polls today because our polling, our visits are terrible, right?
Yeah, I think right now people don't even know there's an election going on right now. Yeah, and we have an important bond package. We've got all these quality of life issues, parks and so on that we need to make happen. Yeah, and we're potentially not going to pass it because you have folks on the other side that are saying you should just focus on police and fire and roads, forget parks, forget community centers, which means where are those kids going to go? What do they do after school? Yeah. Which is important, which leads to high crime. Yeah. So look, I mean, we're either all for the whole of America or we're for a part of it. And I think that this is this is the land of milk and honey. And I think that we should demand that those tax dollars get spent on those extra spoils for all communities. But look, I mean, it's just get out there and do it. I mean, it's just real simple. I mean, I don't remember the last time I missed an election. I think it's been, I don't know, 30 years. I don't miss them. And then I take a lot of pride in saying that. I'm not going to miss an election.
Yeah.
It's really simple. So just go out and get it done. You know,
Yeah.
it'll impact your life.
Yeah.
Is the voter turnout in the Latino community higher than the Caucasian turnout? Is there any relationship to that?
So here's the problem. The problem is never been any community that's been under-resourced in terms of voter registration than the Latino community. As in Fort Worth, as an example, we'd never had a state rep until I came in office. We only have one city council person. We have no county commissioner. We have one JP. So if you're really trying, and so the Latino community is spread everywhere. So if you don't think the Latinos are going to vote for you, why would you register Latinos? So you stay away from that community. So on average, we are probably, I'll give an example. So my district is about 65% Latino.
District 90?
District 90, state rep. And we're only about 52% citizen voting age population, but only about 37% Spanish surname voter registration. So half of the district is registered. So that means if we turn out at the same rate as an Anglo, which is about 50% on the presidentials, then we're only turning out 17%. Of 65%. That's just not enough. Is that on us? Yes, it is. It's on us. It's also on the elected officials that have been there in the past that haven't targeted and specifically said Latino communities have a voice. Let's give them more of a voice. Let's make sure that they vote. And and now we have a conflict that we're just kind of pulled in different directions. We have different ideas. We're conservative. We're progressive. We're pro-immigrant. We're pro-business, but we're also pro working on the effects of poverty. So look, we're all over the place. We're never going to be a monolith. And I think I'm okay with that. I just want more people to get out there, like Britton said, just go vote, man.
And it's crazy because the numbers are all growing in that direction, but then the voting data is almost doing the opposite. It's just, it's the most kind of antithesis. Like it's crazy.
Young people are doing it though.
It's great that a guy can speak for the Latino community with such passion. Like I applaud you what you've done, Ramon. This is amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there a best part of this job for you?
Oh man, there was a guy named Arthur Vidari who I used to play golf with, and I went to give a speech at Casada, which is over on Hemphill, and I revealed to these kids that I had. Before I went to high school, my daughters Lindsay and Lauren, before my senior year in high school, my daughters Lindsay and Lauren were born. And during my senior year, my son Gio was born. And I didn't let that stop me. I just went after it. I knew I was talented. I knew I was super smart, smarter than just about everybody I ever met. At least that's what I would tell myself.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of success. Here I was 25 years old, making $500,000 a year. And how did that happen? It's just hard work. And so I see Arthur years later, and he says, I just want you to know, you changed my son's life. And I said, what? And he says, yeah, you gave a speech at Casada. And I said, okay, what did I say? He just talked about, he came home and he said, this guy came and spoke today. I dropped out of school. Dad, I'm going to go to college. And he went to TCC. And 2 years later, he was accepted at Texas A&M. And when the guy graduated, the dad invited me. And just to see that young man, that I didn't do anything but just say, there's never an end.
Yeah.
There's always tomorrow. And tomorrow can be way better than anything you ever thought or whatever anyone told you were going to be. So just go kick ass, And that's what I've been telling folks forever, And the kid did it. And to this day, the mom and dad, every time they see me, they're like, oh my God, Ramon, we love you so much. I'm like, why? For just telling the truth.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So, that's it. So that's really the best part of it. That Fichera bill, when I passed that bill, a lady that was working for the state, she says, do you know how many of these women become wards of the state? And Ramon, you just saved a lot of lives. And the fact that they can tell me those things come back, that is what makes it worthwhile.
Absolutely.
And, look, this country needs leadership like never before. There's people out there, I hope they're watching your show, that know that internally they're pissed off and that they know they can make a difference. And I'm here to tell you it is easy to make a difference. You can make the city spend millions of dollars, or the state spend millions of dollars if you just pick up the phone and make them do it. Let them know that you're watching. So go get it done.
Do you think all these illegal immigrants or undocumented immigrants here in town, are they able to approach you? If they know about you, are they afraid to step forward and engage with somebody like you, or is it easy for them? If you mind me asking.
Oh, they engage me all the time. So we have an incredibly large group of, it's called the Club Zacatecanos. It is one of the largest clubs of Zacatecano immigrants, both undocumented and documented, in the entire United States of America. I'd say here in Texas, we probably have about 400,000.
Wow.
And they all share their emails, and they talk to me all the time. Like, you make us real proud to be Zacatecanos, and thank you for fighting for folks without a voice. You know, I mean, that's what it's about, right? I mean, isn't that where this country was founded? Taxation without representation, right? I mean, hey, I'm sorry, I'm just repeating what's been done in the past. You know,
Outstanding.
So, take us like 5-10 years down the road. You get this state rep thing going. There's talk back in the mayoral race. You do it. Not only where is Ramon in that time frame, but where's the state of things here locally? What do you see?
Well, I think that Fort Worth finally getting to the point to where we can get past the politics of the Trinity River Vision is going to be something that's going to be a game changer for Fort Worth. I've always been a supporter of getting more active and getting just exercising more and living a healthy lifestyle. So the fact that we've invited people to the Trinity River, as much criticism as J.D. Granger got, I always witnessed him come with passion about Fort Worth. And so I'm excited about that. Ramon didn't run for mayor because I'm too young to run for mayor, and then someone younger got it. But okay, it is what it is. But look, I love this city. I will be in Fort Worth for the rest of my life. I want to usher this city into the next generation of growth, which is healthy living, which is farm to table restaurants, which is one where we educate our kids differently, where we believe in all communities, where we can stop talking about I-35 and what happens on one side and the other side, where 76104 isn't the most unhealthy zip code in the United States of America.
Yeah.
I mean, those kinds of things have to change. And I think that it's going to change. I'm a believer, and I am going to continue to believe in Maddie Parker, that she has her heart in the right place, especially when it comes to education. So there's your shout out, Maddie. But look, I mean, I'm not. I don't know where I'm going to go in the future. I would like to make some sort of statewide run just to prove that we can talk about some of these things as immigrants and not be embarrassed about them. I think some of our immigrant population or sons of immigrants need to be reminded how hard our parents' lives really were and what they sacrificed. Actually, All Pro Dad was just here yesterday. Tony Dungy was there. And they asked me to say a few words. And I said, listen, my grandfather was an agrarian disciplinarian. It was all discipline. My dad couldn't wait to run away from it. So he participated in the Bracero program, which you can almost argue was slave labor, and then he came here to offer us the opportunity for the American dream. And you can argue that I might be the American dream realized, but through 3 different generations, there was never a father-son relationship. I didn't have a relationship with my dad. My dad kicked me out of the house when I was a junior in high school. I started paying my own rent when I was a junior and senior in high school. It changed my life. I was 7th in my class. And then I had kids.
Yeah.
And I developed some other bad habits.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like, this is happening again right now. There's a first generation of immigrants right now, and they don't have a parent-child relationship. And that has to change.
Sir.
So I don't want to be in the place where I finally have a platform and I'm not telling that story.
Yeah.
And then the folks that are in power say, that's what we need to change.
Well, I applaud you for what you're doing, what you will do. You seem like the perfect voice for those who are most in need. I mean, that in itself, I wish you all the luck in the world.
Yeah, thanks.
Whatever you're going to do with that, that Fort Worth needs to be behind you in that regard. That's incredible. We ask our guests every show, aside from marriage and children, what is the best day of your whole life? Can you give us an answer? Possibly.
No family. We spent a lot of time talking about family.
I thought I was clear when I said that.
Well, we've been clear, and everybody keeps going back to family. They keep just running us over on that.
I bet he could get it.
The best day in my whole life. That is very difficult, but I can think of one thing that impacted me greatly. I was actually in church praying that I would take this burden from me, which I thought I was going to run. And I know that some people don't like talking about God, but I literally felt like God said, this was your responsibility. And I opened my eyes and I was crying, and I didn't even realize I was crying. And it was just so impactful that I knew right then that I could not make a mistake, that no matter what happened, I was going to beat Lon Burnham. And I ended up winning by 111 votes. For those people that believe in numerology, look it up. It's an angelic number. And I know that I was touched. And I know that that's a responsibility that I had. So is it great to know you have responsibility? I don't want to sit there and make people think like I'm some awesome guy. I make lots of mistakes. I'm a sinner like everybody else. the fact that I felt like I was touched that way allows me to just live this life in a way that I live with no regrets. So my life changed that day. So really, that for me was probably the best thing that ever happened to me.
That's an outstanding answer.
That
when you beat Lon Burnham, when he called, what did he say? Or
He
what did
never
call?
called me.
Never
He filed
called?
an election challenge. Come on.
Oh no,
That was kind of a call. That was a call down to the city or where, to the county.
Is Lon Burnham next on the show?
Yeah.
That would be fun. I want to be in the audience.
Ramon Romero, thank you
Thank
for being
you.
here, my friend.
Hey,
Awesome
glad to be
job.
here.
Yep.
FORTitude,
Roxo Media House.